Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to be doing a handover video on this Autocruise Stardream. So it's based on a 2007 Peugeot Boxer chassis, and this one is a 2.2, which means it's a chain-driven engine, so no cam belt to worry about on this one. Under the bonnet, we've got over on the left-hand side the majority of the fluids and the reservoirs and things like that. So up the top left-hand side here, we've got your washer fluid. You then got your power steering fluid and engine coolant. Up the top, we've got your brake fluid attached to the servo just down towards the back. And your engine oil filling point is this one just here on the top. You do also have the engine oil dipstick just here at the front. So that's the yellow topped dipstick here, so you can check your engine oil. Fiat 249 is the paint colour for the vehicle itself, so that's the white paint colour that you might find throughout the van. We've then got two chassis plates just here. Now the one that you need to look at is the one that says Alco here, and this is the one that you need to look at for the exact weights. Sometimes you find that they're exactly the same, sometimes they're not. So the Alco one is the one that you need to look at. And because you've got air conditioning in this van, you've also got a little bit of information here about your air conditioning system and how to regas it. Over towards the right, we've got your air filter inside this little circular box. And because the engine battery itself doesn't sit under the engine bay, it sits under the floor in the cab just in front of the passenger seat. They do give you a nice little access point to a positive terminal. So if you need to jump start the van on the side of the road or wherever you are, and you can't quite get into the engine bay itself, the battery bay, sorry, then you've got a positive terminal here under this little cover, and a negative point just here in order to earth it so you can jump start. So just inside the passenger door is the bonnet release handle, just there. And the batteries tray that I was talking about is this one just here in front of the passenger seat. Your diesel filling point is this one just here inside this little flap. So ignition key will be needed to open that up. So we have got a locker just here, which if I just grab the keys, where have I left them? Over here. Not very well prepared. So this locker just here behind the passenger door is access to the boiler. So when we get into here, you'll see there's a very important little lever, this little yellow lever on the left hand side. Now basically the little lever is your boiler drain off point. So if you wanted to winterize the vehicle, say for example you're not going to be using it for a few weeks or something like that, and you know it's going to be quite cold, you need to make sure that the boiler isn't going to freeze up and freeze the water inside of it. So the only way to do that is literally by lifting up the little yellow tab here upright so that it's just pointing straight up. And what will happen is every single drop of water from inside the boiler will drain straight out onto the floor through this tube. So that's how you would winterize the van from the boiler's point of view. There is a whole video on the channel about winterizing the van, but I will just say that, long story short, drain the boiler out from here, drain your fresh and wastewater tanks out, and leave the taps in the open position is the general gist of it in order to winterize. So, boiler locker, you don't need to know anything about any of that really. It's just literally that this is the locker. That's the bit that you need to remember. So, as I said, we've got the habitation door just here, which comes all the way across. You have also got a window on the habitation door itself. So, open the little catches, and then you'll be able to pull the door away from the window. Okay, so in other words, you can have the door completely shut and have the door window wide open. You've also got, because it's got a window, I'll just close this back over. Because you've got a window, you have also got a blind and fly screen, just like every other window in the van as well. Okay, a little bit of storage on the door. That's about it. Don't worry about the mess inside here, by the way. We've literally just finished the habitation check, so we are obviously still need a full clean throughout. So try and look past that as best you can. The step is powered by this little button just here. So step going in and out really well as we speak. No issues with that whatsoever. Customer has asked for us to fit one of these external Fiamma locks. Okay, now this one, I'll be honest, was quite tricky to fit, purely because, generally speaking, the motorhome door frames, which is what this has got a frame lock. Okay, so it actually clips onto the door frame. Generally speaking, these will be really nice and deep and have loads of space to drill through and all that and fit them. This one is not, as you can probably tell, it's only the depth of my thumb. So I did have to do a little bit of sort of working around it on this one, which has meant that I've had to use 5 screws rather than 3. But still works in exactly the same way, and I've actually made it even stronger by fitting a little bit of sealant around the edge just here so that it can't be pulled this way either. So that's a really, really strong lock just there. I've put it there so that it doesn't go over the lock as such, but it does go over the handle area there. So that's the sort of strongest point of the door. So that's why I've fitted it there. To lock that up, twist it and put it into this position here. And then basically you've got a little red key just here. Key in and twist and key out. So twist and push in and then pull the key out. Make sure you put this over to stop it rusting. And that's it. That's your frame lock, nice and strong. So opposite way, obviously, to open it up, twist and take the key out. Don't need to worry about that. And then spin it around. So it's really easy. It doesn't take a second to do that. We've also got a new awning light, which was, the old one was knackered basically on the habitation check. So we have fitted a new awning light just there and brand new awning as well. Okay, so awning going across the top of the van, as you can see. It's a 4-meter awning. All right, so yeah, really good size on this one. We've gone for the biggest one that we could physically fit on the van. Luckily for us, the bracket was already up on the roof. Not sure if a previous owner had taken the old one off or something, so we have had to get a new one. But there you go. So, customer has also opted for the refillable gas system. Okay, so we have fitted what we tend to recommend, unless you're going to be going abroad full time, we tend to recommend that you have one normal swappable bottle and one refillable one. And the reason for that is that in the UK, it can be quite difficult to get a hold of the refillable gas, as not many garages nowadays actually still stock it. So, because these are much more readily available, they're a bit more expensive, but they're much easier to get a hold of in the UK. You have the option here of just replacing the bottle if you can't get any of this gas, or just using the refillable gas if you can't get any bottles. So you've always got one or the other. We have fitted at the top just here what's called a changeover valve, so that basically you can just turn both bottles on if you want to, and the changeover will literally just use whatever gas it has. So you don't have to unplug anything and plug anything else in. You can just use one or the other, or both. All right, and when you want to switch between the bottles, you literally just twist this little valve here, like that. Takes seconds. And as I say, it just means that you've got the option of using either format. So, to turn the bottle on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left. That's the same on both bottles. So clockwise all the way in, turns it off, anti-clockwise turns it on. Same with this one, only difference is that it's on the top of the bottle. So we go anti-clockwise around to the left to turn it on, and clockwise all the way down, round to the right to turn it off. Don't worry about this little yellow tab just here either. This is for our testing purposes, so you don't need to worry about doing anything with this. And then the only other thing to point out is the refill point. So we had a little bit of a conversation with the customer about where to put this refill point. Now, the issue with fitting the refilling point on the door, if this was a twin refillable gas bottle system and we weren't going to have this single bottle, then I would quite happily have fitted the filler neck on the door. But because this door is going to be being opened and closed quite a lot, what you don't want is for something to be latched onto the back of this door, a really thick steel braided cable, which will end up basically wearing down over time the more you open and shut that door. So it's much better to have the refill point here on the side of the van. Okay, I think personally that they look a lot better when they're on the side of the van, like this. And I have, just to sort of put the customer's mind at rest, I have put a little bit of sealant behind this outer ring when I fitted this. You tighten it up from the back and it basically squishes in. I obviously then got rid of the excess so you can't see it, but that is fully sealed onto the van with sealant and screws, so that is not going to leak and it's not going to come away. Okay, so to remove this and actually get to the filling point, we push in and round to the left, and that will then allow you to remove the cap. Okay, so in the UK we've got a bayonet fitting to actually sort of refill the gas system, if you like, and quite literally you just put it in, twist it, and it will then allow you to fill it up. In different countries, so Italy, France, Spain, have all got different adapters for it, so you might need to invest in a couple of those depending on where you might be going to. But yeah, that's about it really. So push in and round to the right to release it and get it to lock. So next thing we get to is your external hookup point. So having the electric hookup plugged in is really handy, to be honest. So when you have the hookup plugged in, it means that you can use all of your mains powered appliances. So the fridge works on mains, the boiler works on mains, everything has the option of working on mains. So you can use all of those there, and you've got the battery charger will come to life as well to charge up the leisure battery. So all the time that you're hooked up on the mains, you don't have to worry about the battery voltage, basically. This locker at the back just here, we've got your factory fitted carpets and a winder just here for the rear steadies. So the steadies sit up underneath the van and basically just give a little bit of support to the vehicle itself, so it won't feel like it's moving around too much when you're inside. At the back of the van, we have got the bike rack just here and the tow bar. Above that, we've got your reversing cameras and obviously lights and centre brake light. The wastewater drain off point is this one just here at the back, that's your grey waste. All right, so that's just anything that's gone down a sink, basically, so including the shower and any sink drains. On the off side of the van, we've got another rear locker just down here. In this locker, we have got couple of bits to do with the bike rack. So this is an extra arm for the bike rack. You've got over towards the back just there, little white valve there, that is your freshwater drain off point. So if you wanted to drain out the water from the fresh tank, again, as I said earlier, that's sort of more to do with winterizing. But if you wanted to do that, then you just twist the valve there and all of the water from inside the tank will drain out onto the floor. To the right of us here, we've got your freshwater pump. So again, this is just for when you're drawing the water through from the freshwater tank. You haven't got to do anything with this, and I will show you how to use it when we get inside the van, but this is just kind of like a permanent thing that sits in this locker. Really nice access to it though, I will say, for our point of view. When we have to change a water pump, this would be, I'd be over the moon with this sort of access. So yeah, there you go. So you have got freshwater filling point just here. Now we're waiting for a little part for this, okay? Just a little cover for it, basically. The original one that was here was missing the little pins here. So yeah, it was missing a few bits basically. So we've fitted a new one. So we're just waiting for a couple of bits for that, but that's the only thing that's left outstanding. Basically, this is a filter filling point. So you've got a little filter inside here, which you can undo, and then you've got access to it just there. Okay, so that pushes in, and then your top nut goes around that basically and just keeps it watertight. But essentially, if I just set this back to where it should be, basically what you've got is a filling point just here which says pump on it. So when you plug that in, you'll then be able to drop your pump into an external tank, and that will then pump water into the internal tank. So generally speaking, this is quite a standard thing for Autocruise to use. Quite literally plug it in, drop it into your tank, and that's it. All right, so nice and straightforward on that one. As I say, we will keep you up to date. We're just nearly finished with it. Right, these two things just here are both to do with the fridge. So if we have the fridge lit up on gas, you will feel warm air coming out through this top right-hand side vent. This is the sort of exhaust flue for the gas burner. So if you do have that lit up, it's literally the exhaust fumes coming out through here that you can feel the heat from. Last thing is our toilet cassette locker. So if I just open this up, use both hands to open that. Okay, and essentially, you've got a freshwater flush on here, so the water comes straight from the freshwater tank. Okay, so you haven't got any separate flush fluid to worry about. You just literally, as long as you've got a little bit of water in the tank, you'll be able to flush the toilet. To remove the cassette, we lift up on the little yellow tab down here at the bottom and then pull the cassette towards us. You'll then be able to take this all the way out and walk it around to wherever you need to go to empty it out. Okay, so all you need to know from there really is that you drain it out from here. This is our actual draining point just here with this cap. And when you're physically draining it out, you should hold down this little yellow button here at the back, which is basically a pressure release valve for the cassette. When you've finished emptying it out, you need to fill this cap up with the blue fluid and pour it back inside. Give it a little swish around, and then you're ready to put it back in. And that's it. Easy as that. So, I'll show you into the cab and show you any little bits and pieces that we've got in here. So this is, to be honest, a very, very high spec cab. So for this particular year of vehicle, there's lots of things that you've got in here that were not standard. So in fact, most of the things in here, you've got nearly every optional extra that you can that I can think of, to be honest. So over on the driver's side door, we have got, as you would come to expect, you've got the electric windows just here. But you've also got the electric adjusting mirrors. So you can choose which mirror you want to move and just literally move it around like a little joystick like that. So really simple and really quick. We've then also got the cab blind on the windscreen here. Okay, so the cab blind, quite literally, squeeze the little buttons together, or push them out, and then they'll meet in the middle to sort of magnetize together to block out the front windscreen. You have got some blackout blinds to go on the passenger and driver's side door with these little poppers as well. That's just those ones there on the passenger seat. We've then got, to the right of the steering wheel, we've got your headlight adjustments from these two buttons here. And these three here are all to do with, you know, changing things on the center screen on the dash. On the steering wheel, we've got steering wheel buttons for the stereo. I will say, I will just point this out, I would be very surprised if these buttons still work in relation to that stereo, because that is not the original stereo. Well, I might be wrong, it might work, but 9 times out of 10, they don't work, the aftermarket stereos. The aftermarket ones are a lot better than the original ones because they are quite basic, the old ones. So that is good, but just don't be surprised if these don't work. You might be surprised when they do. I don't know, but anyway. So the washers and wipers are on this right hand stalk here, and your indicators and lights are on the left. You've also got the optional extra cruise control. So turn it on or off, and then literally set your speed by pushing it up and down, and cancel and resume is on the side. Okay. When it comes to the center part of the dash just here, we've got the 6-speed manual gearbox, which I mentioned to the customer actually that these actually came in a 5-speed as well. So having it in a 6-speed is really handy. It does make a big difference. You've got, as I say, you've got the Kenwood single DIN head unit up here that has got auxiliary, USB, Bluetooth by the looks of it as well, and a few other bits, DAB+, so it's actually a fairly modern stereo. So yeah, shouldn't have any issues with that. You've got the air conditioning, which is another thing that was not standard. So you've got the aircon button just here in the center. Okay, so you do need to make sure that you have that button switched on if you want the air conditioning to work. The rest of it is all just sort of heater controls, which I very rarely explain because it's just you know, you don't need me to explain that basically. You can lock and unlock the cab from these two buttons just here, and you've got your hazard lights from that switch there. Your reversing camera is up here on this screen here, so when you put it into reverse, you should get a nice little picture up there showing you the back of the van. So, both of these front seats do swivel round. It's a little bit tricky to do with one hand, so I'm not going to do it now, but they do both swivel. So you can have them both around to sort of make up into a little lounge area up the front. So, we have also, just before I get stuck into the actual, you know, appliances and control panel and all that, we did also fit a solar panel for the customer. So, I'll just quickly explain to you what we've had to do in here. Now, basically, when we were fitting the solar panel, we've realised that you really need a little bit of access to, there's a load of wires and things up here. So we've fitted this little extra piece up the top here that you can remove in the future if you ever needed to. Now, fingers crossed you won't ever need to get into that, but it is there now for access. I actually happen to have a piece of the exact same wallboard, so it does sort of blend in quite nicely, I think. The controller just here for the solar panel. Now, you don't have to do anything with that, and you know, you don't have to press any buttons or anything at all, but quite literally it will just tell you what battery voltage you've got and if there's any current coming in. At the moment we are inside, so there's no current whatsoever, which is why you've got a little symbol here telling you that it's night time, because it's not getting any sunlight or power. Okay, we're at a nice high voltage of 14.3 at the moment because we've got the hookup plugged in. If we weren't hooked up, you can expect the battery to be around 12 volts. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll start this part of the video on the control panel. Now, these control panels are fairly straightforward. There's not really a huge amount to them, but they can take a little minute to sort of, you know, get your head around using in the first place. So basically, you've got a main power switch on the left-hand side just here, which when I press it, if you don't hold it down for long enough, it won't actually turn the entire system off. It will kind of just reset itself. Okay, so when you want to turn it off, you press and hold it and then let go. Okay, so let's open this door up a little bit. On the right hand side, we've got all of the buttons for what the actual control panel does. So when I press clock, it will then allow us, when we press and hold it, I think, to change the time on the clock somehow. We'll press and hold it for a while or something. Oh, it's been a little while since I've adjusted one of these. I'll have to have a little look into that. Yeah, basically just change the time on the clock, but there must be a sort of way of getting into that. How do we do it? There's always some sort of clever way of doing these things on these. Oh, there you go. So press and hold these two buttons here, and it'll get you into this kind of like hidden menu. Okay, so when you go through, you can choose your time and alarm, time set, 24 hour, yes. And then I can't actually see the exact time right now, but it's certainly not 4 in the morning. So let's just do very roughly set it to that. Okay, so that's how you would change the time on the main screen just here. It is the correct date, so that is good. Press and hold. The other things that you've got on here are display, so you can change the timeout time, contrast, backlight, all that sort of stuff. Mode, don't need to worry about that. Sorry, just go back into that again. Beeps, so you can just change how loud the beeps are basically. Reset amp power, don't worry about that one, that's if you change the batteries. Emergency start, now if you want to have a little look through the book for this, you can have a little look into that. But basically what that does is it gives you a time, if your engine battery goes flat, it actually has a really clever mode where it will use the leisure battery's power to sort of jump start the battery. So if you're ever in real trouble and you desperately need to start the engine battery up, then you can have a little look at using that if you want to. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Battery select, don't worry about that because you haven't got that option. And I think that was it. Yeah, that's it for the sort of additional menu there. Okay, so on the right, we've got lights up here, which is just basically an isolator for certain lights, not all of them. as you can see, but some of them. Volts, the one here that says volts, this shows us a few things. It shows us that the electric hookup is plugged in. It shows us that we've got 14.3 volts in both batteries, which by the way means that the hookup is actually charging both engine and leisure batteries at the same time. Okay. Next one over, the one that says amps, is going to show us how many amps are either being put in or taken away from the leisure battery at any one time. So at the moment, because we've got the charger on from the hookup, we've got +4 amps going into the battery. Okay. Battery info will tell us how long it reckons you can use the leisure battery for before it goes flat. Okay, so quite simply just telling you how long you can use it for. It's telling us forever because we've got the electric hookup plugged in. The one that has the battery or solar amps, don't worry about that because we fitted a they didn't have one fitted from factory. So because we fitted one after factory, we haven't sort of wired it into the control panel just here. It's a bit of a job to do that, so we tend to just wire them separately. Water pump, when you turn that one on and off, that will obviously just give you power to the water pump. And we've got your fresh and wastewater levels there as well. So when you press on that one, it shows us the fresh water level at the top, which is now empty, and your wastewater at the bottom, which just says okay. It'll either say okay or it'll say full. Okay, so that's the control panel. So quite literally, power on, lights on, and if you want to use the water, turn your water pump on. Once you've done that, you should then have power going to pretty much everything. So all of your lights, any ignitions, and your water pump. Okay, now I can't actually show you the water coming through very well at the moment because, like I showed you on the outside, we're waiting for the cap for the filling point on the outside. So there isn't actually any water in the tank at the moment to show you anything with. So what I'll do instead, which I do sometimes, is I will explain to you how to use it, but you won't actually see it happening on the screen. Okay. So the fresh water system, or the water system in a motorhome, is quite simple, but you need to just sort of understand how it works. So you've got two systems. You've got a fresh and a cold water system and a hot water system. The cold water quite literally just gets drawn through the pump from the tank straight to the taps. So if we had the taps over to the right and then drew the water through, then you would just be getting water directly from the tank straight to the tap. Simple as that. Okay. The hot water side is slightly different, where if we were to turn the tap to the left and draw the water through, it doesn't come straight from the tank to the tap. It actually has to run through the boiler first before it ends up coming to the tap. So the reason I'm telling you that is because when you want to use the boiler and you want to get the water hot and all that sort of stuff, you do have to make sure that the boiler is actually full. And the only way to do that is to make sure that there's water coming through the tap on the hot side. So in other words, if the boiler wasn't completely full to the top, you would not get any water coming through the taps. Okay, so the boiler physically has to be full before it will start pumping water through to the tap on the hot side. So when you get into the van for the first time and you want to use the hot water, just literally turn your water pump on, making sure that you've got a bit of water in the tank already, by the way. Water pump on and draw the water through on the hot side of the tap and just wait for the water to start coming through nice and clearly. Okay. Whilst it's filling up and getting to the very, very top of its the filling point inside the boiler, you'll just get a little bit of air coming through. It might cough and splutter a little bit, but just wait for it to start coming through nice and clearly, and then you can turn it off, and that's it. It's really simple. Okay, so that is the fresh, the cold and the hot water side of things, and the boiler. So that's that part out of the way. Under the floor down here in this little hatch, we have got really, really good access to the leisure batteries. Now these are, so you've got twin leisure batteries down here with an isolator. That little bit of wood doesn't need to be there. It's obviously just popped out somewhere. Yeah, just in there. So, twin leisure batteries with an isolator down there. You can see where we've put the battery cable, sorry, the solar cable, I mean, in here to both batteries. Okay, so good access to the leisure batteries down there as well. Right, down here in this little corner, is where the majority of your electronics are. So under this little cover here, you'll see we have got what looks like a really complicated little unit. It really isn't complicated, just looks it. Over at the back, the most important part are those fuses that you can see there. So basically, these are all your 12-volt fuses, and 12-volt fuses are probably the most common thing to go wrong in motorhomes. So because everything pretty much runs on 12-volt, it is quite common for things to blow fuses. So that is where your fuses are, just in case you ever needed to get to those in the future. Okay, so what's next? The cooker. So this is what we would call like a range cooker, in the sense that you've got, you know, burners at the top, grill and an oven. So because this is a British built vehicle, you do have the ability of using pretty much everything on either gas or electric. So you have got at the back just here, you've got an electric ring at the back. So when you've got the electric hookup plugged in like we do, you will be able to use the buttons just here, the dial here with the numbers. So when you've got a red light come on there, it means that this is getting warm. Okay. The rest of them are gas burners. So quite literally, like a household one, push in and round with the ignition button, and that'll then spring to life. Same goes for the grill and the oven. Exactly the same ignition button, just slightly different buttons to light it up. Okay, so that's your grill. And then oven at the bottom is the one on the right. So there you go. That's about it, to be honest. Not much else I can show you about that. Have a little look down here. We have got, on the left-hand side, we've got your gas isolator points. So at the bottom, we've got the fridge, the middle is the boiler, and the top one is our range cooker. So they are your 3 gas isolators just there for this van. Storage inside here, more storage. Right, when the customer was looking around the van, we did notice that the tap here was a little bit loose, so I have tightened that up. Bit of a nightmare to get to be honest, but it is nice and tight now, so you shouldn't have any issues with that. And we will just pop this down. So, as I said, I can't actually show you the water system right now, so that's not a problem. So the layout in this particular van, we've got a really, really nice big U-shaped lounge. So with the U-shaped lounge, the reason that I like these so much is the fact that you can just, within seconds, you can pull these side pieces together and make it into a nice big double bed. So it really does take seconds. I could do this right now with one hand, pull them across, and that's it. Pull them across and lay the back bits down into the gaps, and then you've got your bed. So it's so quick and easy. And obviously you can then put them away again and have all this space in between as well. So you do get these little additional tables here. These are factory fitted ones, so you know, it obviously gives you a little bit more space to lean on when you're sat in the back just here. So this wardrobe just here, as I said, pretty much all that's in here, to be honest, is the solar controller. You have got storage space up here on the right hand side, but that is about it. We've then got the Dometic 3-way fridge. So this is, as you can probably imagine, a fridge that works 3 different ways. So we have got, at the top, we've got gas. So the one that you can see now is gas. We've then got 240 volt electric, and then we've got 12 volt electric. So as you can see at the moment, I've got 240 volt electric selected. And the reason it's lit up is because we've got the hookup cable in and it is working. Okay, so quite literally, if you've got the hookup plugged in, I would have this one here selected. So it's just the easiest one to do. If you don't have the electric hookup plugged in and you want to get the fridge cold, the only other option that you've got is the gas. So a lot like the mains hookup one just here, you just select gas, and what it'll do is it will just light up automatically. So you have to leave it a few seconds just to get the gas coming through, and I've just heard it light up straight away. Okay, so these two at the top here, the gas or the mains electric, are the only two that will actually get the fridge cold. Okay, now that might sound really stupid, but I will explain myself. So either one of these two to get the fridge cold before you leave to wherever you're going to go to. And then the 12-volt electric, the one down here, the reason that the light hasn't come on just yet is because it actually uses the engine's power to keep it cold. Now this option here is only for keeping the temperature inside the fridge for when you're on the move. It does not get the fridge cold by itself, and you do need to make sure that you get the fridge cold first before you leave. And by the way, that's the same for all motorhome fridges, not just this one. Okay, so 3 or 4 hours at least for either one of these two to actually get the fridge completely cold. So I would recommend either the night before or a good few hours before you leave to come out to the van and select one of these two. If you're lucky enough to have a driveway where you can have a hookup plugged into the van overnight the night before, that is the ideal situation, because then you can just select the mains electric, and when you're hooked up, obviously the battery charger's on, so by the morning you'll have a nice cold fridge and the leisure battery and engine battery will be fully charged. Okay, there you go, that is the fridge. Inside the fridge we've got freezer compartment at the top and a lockable part on the top here. So push it in, push it to the right, and that's now locked up so that it won't fly open when you're driving. Right, so the last appliance is the boiler. So the boiler controls are these ones just here. Now, these are very, very simple if you don't overcomplicate them for yourself. Okay, now these are one of the most commonly overcomplicated things when they really, really don't need to be. So at the top, we've got this one here that says Trumatic C EH. So the boiler that you've got is a Trumatic C. That's why it's called Trumatic C. It's Trumatic Combi. The one at the top that has EH on it is your energy selector. Okay, so all this one does, if I do this, it's not doing anything at all right now, apart from telling the boiler which energy that you want it to use. So if we leave it here in the middle, we're on gas only. If we go up 1 or up 2, that's electric hookup only, either at 4 or 8 amps. And if we go down 1 or 2, we've got a mixture of both of those things. So gas and 4 amps or gas and 8 amps. So quite literally just choosing which energy the boiler uses. For the most part, it's always best to just leave it on gas. The more that you can use these on gas, the better, because they don't get clogged up with spider webs and dirt and things like that in the burners. Okay, so we've left it there on gas only. The one at the bottom is the one that actually tells the boiler what to do. Okay, so if I go up once or up twice, that is our hot water only option. So either at 40 or 60 degrees of hot water, that is hot water only. So that's what you might call your summer setting. Okay, back to the middle, turns the boiler off. If I go down once, we've got heating only. And if I go down twice, we've got heating and hot water at the same time, which you might call your winter setting. Okay, so heating and hot water. Heating only, off, hot water only on 40, or hot water only on 60. And they are the options that you've got in order to actually use the boiler. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. Nice and straightforward. We don't really tend to get any issues with these. They are very, very reliable. But yeah, there you go. So I think the last thing to explain to you, which I know this has been quite a long video, by the way, it's just quite a lot to show you in this van. Nice light at the top just here for in the shower room. Quite literally, hot and cold tap there for the shower, and the same again, turn these lights on. Same again for the bathroom here, hot and cold tap there for the sink as well. So I don't need to explain that to you, but I will just explain the toilet just here, just in case you've not used one of these ones before. So really simple. You've literally got a blue button at the top, which by the way, you will need your pump switch turned on in order to use this. But you quite literally press the blue button in to get the pump flushing the water around here. And then when you want to drain it into the cassette, you pull the little grey handle here towards you, which will open up the flap down there and drain whatever's inside the bowl here into the cassette. Make sure that you push the flap back over again to close it up. And that's it. So, doesn't get much easier than that. So I think I've covered everything. I don't think there's anything that I've missed out. But if there is, or if there's anything you want covering again, just give us a shout. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.